Hello. Welcome to the Early Care and Education Commercial Rents Tax video. This video will highlight the new requirements of the Early Care and Education Commercial Rents Tax, also known as the Commercial Rents Tax. The Commercial Rents Tax was approved by San Francisco voters in June 2018 and became operative on January 1st, 2019. It imposes a new tax on gross receipts from the leasing or subleasing of commercial space, including a 1% tax on the amounts received from the lease or sublease of warehouse space in San Francisco, and a 3.5% tax on the amounts received from the lease or sublease of other commercial space in San Francisco. The revenue generated will generally fund early childhood education and increasing compensation of child care professionals and staff. Per the Commercial Rents Tax Ordinance, the tax is imposed on persons engaged in business in the city who receive gross receipts from the lease of commercial space in the city. The tax is calculated based on the person's or combined groups' gross receipts from the lease of commercial space. Commercial space doesn't include any building or structure that is used for industrial use, arts activities, retail sales or service activities, or retail sales or service establishments that are not for formula retail use. The ordinance excludes rents that are already subject to the transient occupancy tax or parking tax. The tax generally does not apply to persons exempt from the gross receipts tax. Any person subject to the commercial rents tax who leases or provides commercial space in the city for a qualifying child care facility that operates for more than 6 months in the tax year can claim a credit for that year. The credit is based on the total number of children the facility is licensed to provide care for. When businesses filed their 2018 annual business tax return, they were asked to file an informational return on commercial rents. On that return, they reported their gross receipts from the lease of warehouse space and other commercial space during the 2018 tax year. Based on what was reported, their estimated commercial rents tax payments were calculated and posted for 2019. Businesses pay installments on a quarterly basis throughout the year and file an annual return. This table shows our quarterly and annual filing dates. The commercial rents tax is paid in the same manner and at the same time as the gross receipts tax and payroll expense tax, and will be included in the 2019 annual business tax filing. Businesses will receive quarterly reminders to pay. Like most of the other Office of the Treasurer and Tax Collector's tax filings, businesses can easily file and pay online. Amounts are posted on the payment portal, which lists a taxpayer's outstanding tax, license, and fee obligations. The payment portal can be found at etaxstatement.sfgov.org/online payment. There is litigation pending about the validity of the commercial rents tax measure. The courts will decide whether or not the measure should have required a 2/3 vote for approval due to the specific designation for the tax revenues. In the meantime, the City and County of San Francisco will continue to collect the commercial rents tax. The commercial rents tax and the homelessness gross receipts tax both were passed by voters in 2018 and became operative on January 1st, 2019. However, they are different taxes with differences in how each tax is imposed and who is subject to each tax. The homelessness gross receipts tax generally applies to businesses with more than $50 million in total combined taxable gross receipts, or if you are subject to the administrative office tax. The homelessness gross receipts tax generally does not apply to certain nonprofit organizations and businesses exempt from local taxation, such as banks and insurance companies. Receipts that are exempt from the gross receipts tax and receipts subject to the commercial rents tax. Now I will address some common questions and answers that you may have. Can the commercial rents tax be passed on to tenants? All amounts received from the lease of commercial space in San Francisco are gross receipts that are subject to the commercial rents tax. The legislation doesn't state whether a landlord can or can't pass it on. If you have concerns about this, you may want to read your lease and or discuss your lease with your landlord. There is a tax collector regulation related to this subject that can be found at our website at www.sftreasure.org/commercial-rents-tax. Does this apply to subleases as well? Yes, it can. Am I subject to the commercial rents tax if I fall under the small business exemption minimum filing threshold? A person or combined group exempt from the payment of the gross receipts tax because they meet the small business exemption is also exempt from paying the commercial rents tax. What amounts are excluded from the commercial rents tax? This tax generally does not apply to businesses exempt from the gross receipts tax. Code section 2105 of Article 21 gives details about the exemptions. For additional information and resources, you can view the commercial rents tax portion of our website at www.sftreasure.org/commercial-rents-tax. Here you will find information and additional links to Tax Collector Regulation 2019-2 regarding costs passed on to tenants under a lease. Article 21 of Business Tax and Regulations Code, which includes the Commercial Rents Tax Ordinance, and definitions of commercial space, industrial use, arts activities, and retail sales or service activities or retail sales or service establishments that are not formula retail uses. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the commercial rents tax.